Death at the gates again. Howling my name. Can't greet you today. I have a war to win.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Wolfenstein, the New Order, Uber difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 13, it's entitled Lunar Base, and I think this is a really fun mission. It's just fun, man. It's interesting. I like the colour scheme. I like how the guns have got this space theme to them. It reminds me of cheesy Bond movies and 2001 A Space Odyssey, and my pad is bumming me right here. So the guy on the left who I just killed and this dude, both can be killed with one headshot. The other guy you saw, who looks a little bit more manly, is a space trooper or something daft, and he takes a pounding, so you want to hit him with a fully charged shot. Like, no, it's not charging up for some reason. I don't get... Oh, it's because... Do I not have a full charge? So this is me being kind of anal at this point. I would have had enough to kill him, I believe, but I don't want to take the risks because he's very dangerous. There we go. That turns him into corned beef, and we can progress onwards. So the cool thing about this level is it's a great balance of shooting and stealth, and if you play it correctly, you can stealth through most of those shooting areas, or you can run them if you're confident and you know where you're going. The running strategy is effective in one or two of the big rooms, but for the most it might be better to just kind of sneak your way around, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some compelling evidence of this. As there's your checkpoint, and here is your first big room. So in this room is two commandos, as you can see, and then a bunch of guys, and the rifles that are on the ground, the marksman rifle without the scope, and probably the worst iron sight on the game. And it has to be said, like, as much as I love the mechanics, as much as I love the game and how tight it feels and all that great stuff, I think the iron sight's severely lacking. So much so that sometimes it's better just not to use them and to use the hipfire, because they're not designed well enough. Those two adjustable circle things at the back of this gun are far too big, and they block too much of your view. And I understand that the Luger has them, but there are ways to stylistically design the weapon from this angle so that they're not as obfuscating and you can actually see what you're trying to shoot. And a lot of the guns, like, don't have great iron sights. One of the best ones is the shotgun. Like, why the hell does the shotgun have the best iron sight? It doesn't make any sense, and it's one of the reasons why Call of Duty will always be superior in as far as how it's designed from an iron sight perspective, because they're not that realistic in as much that they look a little bit like they're meant to, and then they're ergonomically designed to be good to look at and useful. Like, don't get me wrong, those games still can have crappy ones, but for the most, they are head and shoulders above other games, because other games just do not know how to make them look cosmetically pleasing. And it always makes me very sad when I'm using a gun and it has a god-awful iron sight. Like, Battlefield is horrendous for iron sights. The only game worse than that is Rainbow Six Vegas, because they're essentially just bits of lead plastic. So bad. And this is literally coming from an aesthetic perspective, guys. And, you know, I would rather it not be realistic or adhere at all to the actual design, but give me something that is functional and fun to look at. Because if you think about it, how long do you spend looking down sights in a first-person shooter? You spend quite a long time, so if you can have a gun that you think looks awesome down sights, then you're already halfway there. But back to the marksman anyhow, it's the marksman without a scope on it, and these two weird square things that make it so that you can barely see anything, and no front post, which is just madness. And it's also a laser weapon, which means it needs to be recharged if you want to use it. So the cool thing about that is you're going to get a lot of use out of it, but you have to keep charging it. And if you're going to use a weapon that needs to be charged, personally I'd rather use the fuck you gun. But this is a stealth sequence, as you can see. Use my throwing knives. There is a super soldier in this area, and if you follow me through the vent that I'm about to show you, you will completely supersede him, and you don't have to mess at all. But look, it's a shame. I bet this looks fantastic on PC and next gen, but on this, there's going to be some really ugly textures, and if you look hard enough, guys, you're going to spot them everywhere. It's one of those things, but I do have to say, when it comes to frame rate and good textures, I will take frame rate any day. And the frame rate on this game at times does tank, but it's consistent for the most, and it's the lesser of the two evils, I believe. So I'm glad they did that. And here comes the 2001 Space Odyssey influence for me. Reminds me a lot of their red corridors. It's a really striking visual theme as well. And I love how you can see the glow on the gun. The lighting on this game, super good. But you can hear the super soldier here. It's just a shame you can't kill them with stealth takedowns. If anybody's played Metal Gear Rising, you can stealth execute the Grads, which are a giant mobile tank. Yeah, on games like this, nope, can't do shit to the big dudes. So we're going to wait for him to pass, and then we're going to go behind him. And there's a one dude on this corridor before the area we need to go to. There he is. There's the dagger. And then we can go to the checkpoint, oh sorry, to the waypoint, and probably get a checkpoint. There's the checkpoint. Here's another striking colour scheme. It's such a fun level, this one. I like it a lot. And there's something about science fiction at the moment that I'm really digging. Alright, so the lighting's going to change as you enter here. This is another big stealth room. There's nothing really in this room except for an Enigma code. So you can get through it as quick as you want, and I believe if you rush through it and you get to the next doorway, the door locks behind you and these enemies can't shoot through it or enter through it, so you don't have anything to worry. Excuse me, I've had a can of Rockstar and it's really coming back on me, and I don't know why I keep doing this, folks. Every time I commentate this guide, so rude. It's one of the things that I can't stand either. For the most, I edit it out when it happens. I'll just stop the recording. But the little, like, inward burps, the type of things that don't show up too much on the microphone and hopefully are not too offensive. Because I know just how bad that shit can be. Because if anybody has watched a guy called Darkside Phil, he does this, like, pig snort, sinusy thing, and it is pretty curdling to listen to, and he does it all the time. And silly things like burps without saying excuse me and shit like that. Just basic manners. It irks me a lot. And, you know, it's his channel, it's his videos, he can do what he wants, but to me, it's the fucking worst. The only thing that I dislike more than that is when girls burp and they don't say excuse me. And I'm talking not like a little nymph-like, you know, slender Leaf burp. I'm talking a full-on man burp, and then they just embrace it. I don't know, it's just, to me, it's just, society gone mad at that point. They might as well just start eating each other and, you know, not wearing clothes anymore and riding horses everywhere. But here's another stealth sequence with 2 more commanders. This is one of those moments where it's an intimidating room, but the path through it is very simple. There's one commando there. I could have taken the shot if I'd have had confidence in it, but once again, because the weapon sways, I like to line the shots up so I don't miss. It's very easy to miss on this game. And then up here to my right, there's a dude. And then there, did you see him? There is the next commander, and you'll notice that the signal detected blinked red for just a second, because he kinda saw me, kinda didn't. And you have to go all the way around the circumference of this room to get to the entrance to where he is. And it just goes to show, even on the hardest difficulty, it's still pretty manageable when it comes to the stealth. And somebody's mentioned that the stealth on this game, especially with the throwing knives, is kind of broken. And someone else mentioned that, you know, the stealth on Metro Last Light was broken. And I think Metro's is probably a bigger example of it, because I wouldn't go as far as saying the stealth is broken. I would say the stealth works. And just by the sheer value of it working means that if you're good at it, you can completely demolish the game. And it's not difficult to be good at it because it's a very binary thing. If you have that light on your watch, you cannot be seen. If you don't, you will be seen. And to me, that's how every stealth game should be. Don't get me wrong, I would make the patterns of the enemies and the environments much more difficult to be unseen through, but I just think on a base level, that's how it should fundamentally work. And on this game, the stealth is a little bit janky, but when it does work, it works well. It's just, there's those instances, a little bit like in The Last of Us, where you can be completely silent, nobody's seen you, and you'll hit an invisible checkpoint or tripwire that makes people see you. And I completely disagree with that kind of design. But now that we've landed here, we're going to do our little moonwalk. You don't have to crouch or anything in this area. There are no enemies, just a spacesuit and the surface walk.
Let's see.
So there goes the spacesuit. And out here there's going to be a couple of drones. The drones are very dangerous, as I mentioned, and they're quite dangerous in space as well because the sound is muffled because, you know, you're in space. And it can make it very challenging to hear that you're being shot at. And I was playing this game while listening to somebody else play the game on one of their walkthrough videos, so I did not have volume on the game, and it's one of those things where I knew where the enemies were. I think there's 3 of them, and it's just a case of kill them quickly and don't let them get close. I suppose you could skip them, should you choose to. But you see, I shot my gun, no noise. We are in, in a vacuum. But down here's the recharge pit, which I'm going to be using quite a lot. And be careful when you move to the door to the next zone, because with the gravity being the way it is, it's very easy to sometimes do super jumps and try to do super jumps, but do really feeble, weak pussy jumps. And those will get you killed. But here is the very strange choice of an iron sight. Like, it'd probably be much more effective just to hip fire. And I'm trying to find this enemy, and it's just over there. But like when you're firing at an enemy who's in cover and he's moving around in cover and you're looking for his head, you literally can't see them because you're too busy staring at this big old ugly piece of metal that's, a foot away from your face. But here it is. There's a couple of rocks down here you want to jump towards. And whenever I jump here, I tend to pull back on the stick a little bit to make sure I don't overshoot, because as you can see, very easy to overshoot. But I managed to redeem it. And that was a pretty weak jump, that, just then, compared to what it could have been. But once you hit the button, these doors will open, and that is pretty much all the moonwalking you're going to be doing. There's really good music on this sequence as well. I think I read somewhere on some of the promotional information that, was it the guitarist from Meshuggah that contributed to some of the music? Which is pretty interesting to see. And it makes me wonder if he did all the music or just the chuggy stuff, because anybody who's heard Meshuggah knows that they're pretty guitar orientated and pretty heavy too. But here's a cutscene showing you removing the tattoo you got when you went in the prison camp. It's an interesting scene. I'm not entirely too sure what pissed him off so much when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, because he's just like a psychopath who kills people and gets stabbed a lot, but somehow doesn't die. So I'm not too sure why a little tattoo with a number would piss him off so much, but he cuts it off in a big flap of skin, and is all good about it. He's all fine from that point onwards, which, to me, it would have stung like a bitch, and I don't take pain very well, because unfortunately I'm a man, and men are known to be big bitches when it comes to pain. So I am to believe. But if you climb this ladder here, there's going to be a dude in front of you. You want to kill him quickly because there's a guy across from him, and the guy across from him is one of the crazy trooper dudes. And then to my left, there's another commander who we need to kill before we go and hit the elevator. And I'm being much more tentative than I perhaps should be, because this is one of those instances where fortune favours the bold. He kind of saw me just then, and I look over here to see if there's anything. There's a bit of armour, but we're already maxed on armour because we've been doing the stealth for long enough to have sufficient enough. And fucking hell, my arms are aching, man. I'm such a pussy. I've got back into the habit of working out. I found out that if I do it in the morning when I get up, it motivates me more for the day. It kind of wakes my body up instead of feeling like shit for the first few hours, and it's very rejuvenating. It's just I've got to the point where I'm doing it like twice a day, when I wake up and then when I go to bed. And when you get like a consistent cycle going, you just get to the point where you're constantly aching, and it's the good ache. It's just every so often, like, I'm noticing I'm resting my arms on my chair as I do this commentary, and my bicep is aching because I'm just kind of like resting it there, which is pretty strange, but there you go. Health tips from Seraphim17. Don't do drugs. That's the only health tip I've got. which is probably not a very good one, because if you do certain drugs, they make you lose weight like a motherfucker. You know, it's very difficult to be fat on cocaine. Also, I hear. But this is another big stealth room, but it's going to obviously be in the next video. So thank you for watching, and as always, you take care now.